everybody, this is Sarahscopic and you're watching Traffic Musings. I have learned two things about clickbait titles in my time. One is that they actually do work, unfortunately, and two, that tabletop stories can make for some excellent clickbait titles, because technically you're being accurate, people just don't realize that it happened in a tabletop game. So once again, I apologize for having you fall victim to another clickbait title, but please understand, I need those views! So I kind of alluded to this story in a previous episode way long time ago, but I figured I should tell the story a bit more forthright. The story of how, yes, I sacrificed my husband for a dragon egg. Yes, you've heard that correctly. As I think I mentioned in that episode, but I will reiterate here for people who do not know or did not watch it. I have played tabletop. That wasn't where I was going with that. What I'm trying to say is that I played a tabletop game, I've played several games, of the Song of Ice and Fire series, also known as Game of Thrones series. It's a pretty good tabletop game if you like tabletop and like Game of Thrones settings. It's actually quite a good system, it's a unique system, and I quite enjoy it. Now, that being said, it has its quirks, but one of the cool parts of it is that it's got house creation stuff. Now, the stats for house creation are very wonky, and it is very easy to suddenly have a house more powerful than the Stark house, but that's okay. You have fun with it anyway. Part of the game that we did, this was the first time we played Song of Ice and Fire tabletop, and we create our own house, but we also create other banner houses, and the whole point was that you wanted to make sure you had a character that was of some import to the game so that you could actually make sense for you to go around. Now, because of the way that the setting is, if you are a female character, you are very limited in the things that you can do. Now, we had a GM that, my brother, who was very flexible, so if there was really honestly something you wanted to do, like if you really wanted to make a Brienne of Tarth character, he would have let you. But that being said, it didn't really matter because I wanted to be a lady. So, like a lady of a house. So we created a banner house for myself. Well, I created it. And this banner house was really cool because I should have mentioned this before. Our house, which was known as House Mourn, as in like mourning for someone. House Mourn was in the north. Is that what that's called? I have not watched or read the series in a very long time. Wow, brain not comprehending. Anyway, we were friends of the Starks, okay? We were around that area, so we were all like hardy, northern men. And my banner house, which I called House Ashfell. Ashfell or Ashfall? No, Ashfell. Yeah, that's right, Ashfell. The cool thing about my banner house is, part of the thing I made up in the history, is it has some Targaryen blood in it. Basically, we made up the story about how some bastard of the Targaryen royal line came up to the north to see the wall and settled there, and he did something crazy, and so he was awarded his own banner house. And part of my banner house's history is that we have a lot in our blood is we kind of have the Targaryen madness in our blood. So the madness manifests itself in basically very black and white thinking. What this basically all it really means is that we sometimes tend to have members of our house that basically either you are an enemy or an ally, and there's kind of no in between, which can be very powerful but can lead to a lot of problems. And due to a history of an issue in my house, which one of the leaders of the house basically, I think, killed a member of House Mourn because of this black and white thinking, he was killed, and so thus part of my house's history and part of the legacy of my house that no one really knows except for the leaders is that there's a small entourage of guards that from the outside are just the leaders, the lord's entourage, but what their actual job is that if their lord shows sign of that sort of madness, without question they are killed. So what this led to, as part of my character's history, is that she was a daughter. Her father technically had this madness, but he had the opposite problem where he kind of thought everybody was his friend, and so he trusted people too much, and so he was betrayed very easily by this random guy who was just looking to kind of take over the house. But and my older brother had been killed because he showed signs of the madness. So this left my character as being the only leader of the house, and so part of my story was that I needed to find a husband real quick and get a baby on the way, because otherwise my house was going to be gone. I'd forgotten to mention this kind of other fun fact. The reason my house was called House Ashfell was because part of the history is the first leader of House Ashfell, apparently, like, I think his history was that he helped, like, destroy a bunch of I guess, enemies at the wall or something, and he was just kind of crazy about it or something, and so the idea was that he was so quick and efficient that all he could see was the ash fell from his enemies around him or something because of the fire. And my house words were, watch it burn. I said it as a joke during the house creation, and my brother thought it was great, so we stuck with it. Anyway, that's beside the point. As I was saying, so I had to try to find a husband real quick. Well, part of our journey is our party had done a favor for the Starks, and so they owed each of our characters a favor, and so my character asked, you know, to be able to have a husband that would be wed under her name. Obviously, because if she went into the Starks, then Ashfell would be gone, so that wouldn't work out so well. So they gave me one of their, like, 5th sons or something, and apparently he was a huge womanizer, and so I was like, yeah, whatever. But, you know, as you guys know in the other episode, yes, I got a baby from him, so it was all fine. Well, here's the fun part. So my brother, who was the GM, he did a special thing in this particular game, this is the first time we did it, where he was going to give us temptations. And basically he would give us a couple different temptations. And the idea is that he would, you know, give us great power, but at a cost. And he gave me 2 options. The first option was the reasonable option that I could have taken, which was that, I forget what I had to give up. It may have been the baby or something minor overall, but I would gain, or maybe my husband would be injured, but as a result, my husband would be able to talk to his direwolf, or he would be able to be like a greenskin or something like that. So that would have been the reasonable option. But the other option I could have gotten was my husband would be killed, and I would also have a possible shaming issue with my family, but I would get a dragon egg out of it. So it was really pushed against me, and actually everyone in the part, basically 2 other party members also got the opportunity to get a dragon egg as well. I didn't mention this. We all got dragon eggs as a reward, like jeweled dragon eggs that were not supposed to hatch. We were going to have it hatch as part of the temptation. It wasn't, we were just giving a dragon egg. I should have mentioned that, made that clear. So everyone who had been given a dragon egg and was given this temptation refused it in the party. They just went, no, that's too much. I, however, thought, you know what sounds like fun? Having a real dragon. And even though, honestly, it was the worst idea ever. Yes, I already had my baby, but yes, I was going to have it that my husband was going to be dead and some great shame was going to follow. We just didn't know what it was yet. But I thought about it over, and I looked at my brother and went, I know logically this makes no sense, but I really want a dragon. My brother said, it's your choice, it's a temptation, and it was not a fun offer. And actually the guy he was the son of the Lord of House Morn, so he was kind of the party leader a little bit. He also had been given the same temptation, and he refused it. And he, you know, I looked at him, I was like, do you care if I get a dragon? He was just kind of like, I mean, in character, yes, I care very much. Out of character, it's up to you, Sarah. So, I said, let's go for it. So, my poor husband was like in a freak accident. And to make it even better, my brother added in that he had been cheating on me with some older woman or something. So he was seen with an older woman and like died in a freak accident. And the other thing that happened was, for people who know Game of Thrones, this is not weird, but for people who don't know, this is kind of a thing. The Targaryens, which I mentioned, are like the bloodline that my family's part of, they do have a history of incestual relationships, basically kind of emulating relationships that, with kings and queens in Europe. Well, not all countries of Europe, but certain countries of Europe where they would do that. So at first, my brother said that the other thing I was going to give up is we found like a half-brother of mine that was from my father, different mother but same father, that I didn't know existed. And originally, this half-brother was supposed to be important because he could have been another person to take on the family name in case I couldn't make it through. And so originally I think in character and part of the stories, I was going to give it up for him, but we never talked, and he was a bastard son, so it didn't really work out. And originally it was going to be that we fell in love and we're going to get married, and we had to do it in secret though. That was originally supposed to be the other part of the conditions to have a dragon egg. But my brother talked it over with, other party members and talked over with me. And, a couple of reasons it just didn't really seem like a great idea. A, it just would have been almost too much of a detriment. And B, in my opinion, I thought it was a little weird to, suddenly make my character fall in love with somebody without my permission. I don't think he thought of it this way, but it was just that part was kind of weird. And so they changed instead that I had to kill him. And so I was a kinslayer, so I killed some of my kin, which is a huge issue in the Game of Thrones series. Well, the setting, I should say. So what ended up happening was he came to my house, actually in the intent of killing me to take not my throne, but basically my position as Lord of the House. And I killed him in self-defense. And then the Dragon Egg hatched. And so that was the other fun part of that experience. And I remember, in character, I was even if you just asked me, if we had just talked about it, I would have given it up to him, but no, so it's just interesting. So that is how I sacrificed my husband to get a dragon. And you know what? There's a crow in the road. Oh, or was it a raven? Oh, that's terrifying. Okay. Anyway, so that's how that happened, and it was a fun experience. Maybe I'll explain another episode of the experience of me having a dragon in the Game of Thrones setting. Oh man. Sorry if this was a longer episode, the timing kind of got off. Once again, it overheated, and actually I am driving to my house right now, usually still on the highway, but I wanted to finish the story, so. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope something amazing happens to you. Without further ado, I hope to see you all in the next episode.